Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Living Generationally podcast. I'm so happy that you are here. And this is where purpose begins, where gratitude grows, and where accountability leads to legacy. And I am your host, Breyonna Laurie, and I am so excited that you have joined me back in for another podcast episode where we get the opportunity to journey with one another as we unlearn, rebuild, and grow together. And that is just amazing. And I'm so excited. Um, yeah. And in today's podcast episode, if you've been listening to the podcast, you know that Mondays, I've been doing this new thing that on Mondays, I'm going to talk about how I'm applying living generationally to my life and this multi generational point of view in my everyday life because it's important that we break that down into daily actions and decision making because that actually helps us to form those missions and visions and systems and values and daily rhythms that actually help us on that path of living a legacy that leads to the future that impacts not only the current generation but also the next generation as well too. And I am loving this new form of podcasting that I'm doing with Mondays. So let me know how you're liking it. I would love to hear what you are thinking about it, how you're thinking the Monday podcast episodes are going with this new change. I would love to hear your perspective. And if my words are jumbled, it is late. It's currently 10:36 p.m. at night, and I'm filming this so it can go up tomorrow, Monday. And so I'm a bit tired, but I am excited to film this podcast episode. Even though I was like, Lord, I'm tired. I don't want to film it. But I'm like, no, Breyonna, consistency. We need to do it. I want living generationally to be a helpful tool to you and for me to grow as well too. And I need to learn that this is the hard work that goes behind the scenes of being consistent and being faithful with something that the Lord has given me to steward. Um, yeah, so I'm so excited for today's applying living generationally to my life kind of moment. I want to come up with a name for these Mondays podcast episodes. I don't really have a name. Maybe you have some suggestions. I would love to hear. Um, yeah, down below. And I keep saying down below because I'm also filming this video form. So this is going up on YouTube, but it's also going to be going up on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And if that's something that you're interested, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel to me so we can meet here again on a Living Generationally channel and we can keep growing together and be on this journey as we are continuously learning together of what it looks like to live lives of legacy that leads to the future and building and growing and living lives that are with purpose and accountability and passion. And if you're like, I'm not really a big fan of the YouTube video style, you can listen on Spotify and Apple. If you're on a go and you just want to listen to Living Generationally as you're going throughout your daily life, you can also listen to this on Spotify or Apple. Um, yeah, so with that, we're going to get into today's podcast episode. And for today's episode, I kind of wrote this down when I was at my mom's shop cleaning. I was like, Lord, I'm just going to write down some ideas that were um, that I was kind of ruminating on and just were kind of in my head and just wanted to talk about in today's podcast episode. Um, but some things I've been thinking about um, is allowing yourself to try things and get good at multiple things so you can build skill and try new things. I think sometimes we can stop at one talent or one skill and just stop there, and it's not a bad thing to grow in a skill or to take something one thing at a time and to master that, which i I don't think there's a point where you completely master something. I believe that there's always an opportunity to learn and to grow in an area. But I've been thinking about this. I'm like, Lord, what if I would just wipe the slate clean and just like start trying different things and just getting good at it and taking the time. I may not do everything all at once, but to pick up a few things that I'm interested in. I want to get into sewing. I've been doing some crocheting, and I just have so many different things that I want to get good at, and I have like the time to. And I've been pondering on the idea of being a skillful person and someone who is interesting and has these different talents and skills that they can press into, but also not only just doing it for the sake of building skill and talent, but also having the privilege of pouring into others and the next generation as well too. What a wonderful privilege it would be to steward these skills in such a way where I'm growing in it, but with the idea of like, oh, I get to invite others into this process of learning and growing and passing down these skills to the next generation. I think that's just beautiful, and that's kind of the legacy mindset that I want to have, and I want you to have as well too, as we are growing and wanting to create different rhythms in our homes and in our lifestyle. And I think what better way to um, practice different skills and to get good at it, or different hobbies and to get good at it, and have that be an opportunity to invite our children into it one day, or those around us in our community, and the Lord and the people that the Lord places in our life to steward in our communities and or to disciple as well too. I think that's amazing, and I think that's something that we've have lost touch with, is this idea of passing down traditions and skills and those things that I feel like that they were good at back then. That these skills were like woodworking or sewing or creating or masonry or just different things are just forgotten, that when you people mention it, it's like, wait, is that a thing? It's like just amazing. Or even music and playing an instrument, or just so many different things that you can get good at and become skillful in, and have an opportunity to pass that on to the next generation. And I think that is beautiful, and that is something that the Lord has been kind of breaking me out of the box of just like, oh, I can only be good at this one thing and that's it. And I think that's come from like growing up in different systems, and kind of, oh, this is your career, this is what you have to do for the rest of your life, you have to stay fixed in this. And it's like, hey, like I can be good at this and do my job well, but I can also be blessed with different opportunities by working heartily unto the Lord in different areas of my life, or cultivating different skills or different passions that the Lord is calling me to, and not being afraid to do that. Because I think sometimes we tell ourselves that, oh, I can only be good at one thing, and maybe we can only be good at one thing at a time. I don't know. Like, yeah, but we can learn new skills and we can learn new talents and have an opportunity to press into that creativity, whether it be music or dancing or and singing or working with the hands, gardening, woodworking, sewing. Is just so many amazing different things that we can cultivate if we actually allow ourselves to get to that place of like, hey, I can be creative and I can press into this. And it may take work and it may take effort to continue to grow, but what a beautiful, beautiful thing to have these different skills and talents that you've cultivated over a period of time because you pressed into that part of your life. But not only that, it can be a point of entertainment for your family and those around you, but it could be an opportunity for you to bring people together, but also to um, provide a sense of joy to someone else's life as you're helping them to grow in a specific area or a talent that they're desiring to grow in, or you're helping them to be creative. And I think that is just so amazing. And I want to press into some of those things that have kind of been lost because um, we have just allowed it to kind of fade in the background as we have become more advanced within our society, with different technologies. We kind of have forgotten the beauty of taking the time to create something beautiful, and something um, created with intention and and skill. And I think that's just something I've really been pondering on as I've been wanting to apply this idea of living with legacy to my life. Is, oh Lord, how can I cultivate skills in this season and work with my hands so I can pass that onto my children and invite others into that process and have it be like a community thing. And I think that's just amazing and beautiful to do that. And the idea of skill sharing and teaching, and like I mentioned, inviting others into the process of learning, and I think it's just beautiful. And I think that's something that we should get back to. Having this idea of skill sharing and being in person with one another and teaching one another and learning from each other. I think it's really beautiful and it can create something amazing. And yeah, and something else that I've been thinking about as I've been applying living generationally to my life and being family oriented and doing what is best for others and not focusing on myself is the idea of doing the inconvenient things that help serve my family and pour into the younger generation. And I've been thinking about this because there's so many inconveniences in our life. Like, it's like, oh, like, for example, eating healthy. Like, I love eating healthy and making my own food, but that can be such an inconvenience, rather than going to the store and buying something very quickly. But it's like I want to do those things because I know, a, like, it helps the health of my family, but also it brings the family together as you invite children into that process of saying, like, hey, this is where our food comes from, and this is how we grow the food, and this is how we work together. And yes, it may take more work, but I rather the more work and doing it together as a family and growing together than just going to a grocery store and buying the convenient option packaged food that is also not that great for you. And I also want my kids to have healthy lives, to the best of my ability, and to be have a beautiful childhood where they can play. And I want to do that, the inconvenient things that would help my family to grow, but to also to bring people together and to be something that's beautiful, but also going out of my way to serve others. I was just thinking about this because um, I just get selfish at times. I get very selfish, and the Lord gently reminds me of His goodness and His loving kindness and how He came to serve. And I'm like, okay, Lord, like, I want your heart, and this is helping me to grow in your heart. But it's hard because I tend to want to do what I want to do and not what is best for someone else. And this is like times where my mom wants me to do something, and I'm just like, but I'm doing something right now. But it's like, wait, like, Lord, I get the opportunity to stop what I'm doing and help and serve her. And yes, there are moments where Mama's like, hey, like, you can do that when you're done doing what you're doing. But I think it's just a beautiful thing to remind myself, like, hey, like, my mom and the people around me are more important than getting this thing done to check a box. Um, but just a great reminder that the Lord has placed people in our life and we get the wonderful privilege to serve them. And sometimes it doesn't always feel that way because it's in a moment where we could be doing something else or we could be relaxing, but it's like, hey, like, I get the wonderful privilege of doing the and a lot of these things are inconveniences. We don't have to lie about that, or play it off like it isn't, but we can say, like, Lord, this may be inconvenient, but I can joyfully do this because I know that it's working for the good of my family and it's helping me to love my mom better. And I pray these prayers, so why not actually take the opportunities that the Lord is giving me to step into those roles when I may not feel like it? Because I think sometimes we can romanticize the idea of serving one another when we want to, but it's often in those moments that we don't feel like doing it that actually grows our character and grows the intimacy in our relationships, because we realize that, hey, like, I'm willing to serve this person when I don't necessarily feel like doing it. And it's like, hey, like, this is beautiful. Like, this is my family whom I'm serving, my community whom the Lord has called me to, and I get to pour into them. And in that return, and in that I and in return get poured into, because I'm like, okay, Lord, this is so life-giving to pour into others, even though sometimes it could be very tiring and draining. It's beautiful in the overall long-term point of view of having this family oriented multi-generational legacy mindset, when it's like, oh, like, my children are going to be one, like, I don't have kids right now, but Lord willing, my children are going to be modeling my behavior. And what are the behaviors I want them to model? Do I want them to model a heart of service even when it's inconvenient? Or do I want them to be grumbling and complaining all the time when something is hard or uncomfortable? And we can admit the uncomfortable and the hard, but it's a different perspective when we actually walk into the hard and say, hey, like, I'm willing to do this even though it's inconvenient or uncomfortable, but I know that this is working for the good of myself as it is growing my character, but it's also going to work for the good of those around me as they see how I'm working and working heartily unto the Lord and wanting to do something that may not be convenient at the time, but I'm wanting to do that because I love the person whom I'm serving. Um, yeah, and also pouring into the younger generation. I have the wonderful privilege of being around my nieces, my two younger nieces, or my no, the two oldest. um I have three nieces, and I get the privilege to be around them a lot. And in the past, like, I would complain a lot, like, Lord, like, this is my time, I'm single, I just want my time to myself. And yes, like, every now and then, like, I do get that time to myself, but it's Lord, instead of grumbling and complaining, you're instead of me grumbling and complaining, I can see it as that you're giving me the wonderful privilege to pour into my nieces, to be with them, because they're always on their tablets when they're home, and I don't want that for them. I want them to be able to see, like, hey, that they are enjoyed, that they are a blessing, because I think sometimes um kids can grow up with just I call it like, I mean, many people call it like the digital pacifier, where they're just given a like, put it in front of a TV or given a tablet, and it's kind of like they're the messaging is kind of like, hey, go over there, and it's kind of, they're not actually feel that they're a blessing, and I can kind of dis- distort their view and identity of kids as they or the identity of kids, their identity and their view of kids as they get older. And I say that because I've experienced that, like, where like, maybe not exactly when I was younger. I wasn't able to piece it all together of how I felt, but I remember moments feeling like I was a very big burden and wasn't a blessing. I wasn't enjoyed by those who had me. And yes, like, we er, um yes, kids, it can be challenging at times, but there's a difference between recognizing the challenges of kids and and learning to steward that and grow, or just accepting that they're hard and letting your attitude be shaped by that. And I don't want that for my nieces. I want to pour into them even when I'm drained. Like, Lord, like, my energy is very low, but Lord, they wanting to be around me, and to remind myself it's such a great privilege to have them want to be around me rather than be like, oh, they're sucking any life out of me. And I don't want that perspective, but often I do feel that way. And I want to grow in that area, because Lord willing, as I have my own kids, it's like, oh, they're gonna be around me. I'm gonna be with them a lot as I want to homeschool them, and want to I want to be around my kids. I want them to know that they truly are a blessing and not just um here, and that mama is trying to like push them off somewhere, but to actually enjoy them. And yes, we need breaks, but I think it's important just to recognize the privilege of pouring into the younger generation. And I've been realizing that as I've been having my nieces over more often, and as I think they may be over more often during the summer as well too. So I'm learning to shift my perspective and to see the privilege of pouring into them, as I'm wanting to apply this living generationally mindset, this legacy mindset of, oh, like my life, like I the impact of my life is going to be shown through the lives of those whom I touched. And I want my nieces to have the impact of my life on them, like, but also for them to see Christ in me, and to want to have that heart as well too, even though that they're not my kids, just to be influenced by that as they're around me, so that they can grow up and be like, oh, like, I remember auntie was like this, or Yeah, and that's really beautiful. Yeah, and the second point that I've been learning kind of ties into the third point kind of ties into the second point is making an effort to remind myself that life isn't about me. And this is so good. And this is like a daily surrender reminder because when you're wanting to cultivate this living generationally mindset, you are you are putting yourself in a place that's different than the cultural narrative of family now. Like family now, it's kind of like you're everyone is in their own separate places, and we see. I've heard it said this way that we see the modern family sees family as a launching pad for individual success. Like we see it in our language as well too. Um, like the idea of even the idea of empty nesters, like, and I get what our culture is trying to say. It's like, oh, your children are grown and they're out the home, but it's like, hey, like, it's not finished. Like, you still get the opportunity to pour into your grandchildren if you have grandchildren, but also to disciple those around you. And I think, like, I get so frustrated with the language that we have in our culture today, even the idea of retirement. I know this is like a side tangent, but even the idea of retirement within our culture today, I absolutely hate it. And I know hate is a strong word, but I do. But it's like we like the idea of retirement is like, oh, you work all your life and you save up all this money to retire and just sit and do nothing. And it's like, no, like you get the wonderful privilege to pour into the lives of those around you, especially when you have health and vitality. That's why we steward our health in our younger years. So Lord willing, as we get older in age, we can have that health and vitality to still pour into those around us. And I don't like the idea of retirement within our culture. It stinks. It's not good. And we need to get back to this biblical view of multi-generational legacy and family. And I feel like once we get back there, it many lives will be changed, and the way that we do life with one another will change. And change at the family level will change government and society. It just will be a cultural shift if we can get to that point. Um, yeah, but going back to remind myself that life isn't about me, it's been really stretching and grounding to get back to this place of like, Lord, like it's not about me. Even as like different um like I have friends that are getting married and different things are happening. Sometimes I'm like, oh Lord, this is not happening in my life. This is not this. Is like, Lord, like you see me, you know my desires, and you're good and you're faithful. But Lord, I want to rejoice in what you're doing, and I don't want to be centered on myself. Like no one wants to be around a person that is centered on themselves. Like it sucks the life out of you. Like it's not very enjoyable to be around such a person, and I don't want to be that person. And that's something I'm constantly working on and being sanctified in, because I'm the more I work on, the more I become aware of it, the more I'm like, oh Lord, I'm very selfish and I don't like this, and I want to continue to grow in this area as I walk with the Lord in this and confess and walk with Him. It's a journey that I'm definitely going to still be walking in, especially through different seasons of life, and especially with having children and littles, and just yeah, I'm going to be stretching this, and it's a good thing, not a bad thing. Um, yes, and something else I wanted to talk about is the willingness to fail and admit, okay, this is two different points. Is that the willingness to fail, but and to continue on, and it's like I've heard it's like you're not actually failing, it's just a lesson. Like we view failure as an end point rather than seeing it as an opportunity to learn and to grow. And I think that's a beautiful way to cultivate um legacy in different areas of your life as you're growing, maybe in business or in your family, as you're trying different things and you may feel like you're failing. It's like, hey, like maybe it didn't work out the way I wanted it to, but hey, it's a lesson that the Lord is teaching me, and I get to continue walking with Him in that. It's a maneuver and to and to be flexible and to shift gears and to move in a different direction that's going to best help serve the businesses that you're growing, or your family that you're growing as well too, in different areas of your life. um, so failure is n- not an end point, but a beginning point to continue on to the next stage as you're learning and growing. Um, and to realize your weaknesses and where you areas you need to grow. And within that, or kind of like a separate point, but it's like admitting when you're wrong. I feel like this is so good, especially when you're doing life with people. It's important that you admit when you're wrong and ask for forgiveness. As we're doing life so closely together, we're going to sin against one another. We're going to hurt each other, and it's important when we admit when we're wrong and to ask for forgiveness. And it models for those around us in our communities, and both the current generation and the next generation, those we are raising up to have humility and to put away pridefulness. Um, yeah, that's really important, and something that I've been thinking about, and growing in. Oh, the Lord has done such a good work in this area, and myself too, because I have to choose. But I've grown so much in this area, and the Lord is so gracious in that. I'm very grateful. Um, yeah, and this next point is I think my favorite one, is dreaming of what others see as impossible and encouraging others to do so as well too. We tend to not move forward in a specific area of our life because we feel like it's impossible to do or it's too hard. um and it may be hard, but it's like, man, like we serve a big God, and he has put different dreams and desires on our hearts for a reason. And it's like we can tell we can tell these big dreams to a big God who's willing to work with us and to partner with us in these different areas of our life as we're looking to grow and just create something amazing. And I think I have this tendency to tell people like who have big dreams, like it's kind of like wired within us. It's like fear. It's like we tend to pass the fears of our own onto others, and we tend to cast that onto others. And it's like, no, Lord, I want to be the person who wisely tells someone, say, hey, like go take that risk, go do what is impossible, what you're dreaming of. It may take a hard work, but hey, die on the road trying. I've heard of that from a podcast or a video I was listening to. um I think I forget his name. I think his name is Dwayne from Dry Creek Wrangler, Attack Room Bible Talk. I love his content. It's so good. But something he mentioned is like, as you're achieving your goals die on the road trying. And I'm taking that to heart. I'm like, yes, I'm gonna die on the road trying, because hey, like I'd rather try and work hard than to do nothing and get to the end of my life and be filled with so much regret. um yeah, so keep dreaming, but as you're dreaming, actually put it into action. But tell your big dreams and goals to a big God who's willing to partner with you in that, and start encouraging your friends and your children and those around you. Like, it's okay to be realistic in those dreams and to encourage them that, but don't discourage them because of your own fears, but to encourage them. Yeah. And um yeah, and also the idea of training yourself like every day. I think I posted this on Substack, and if you're interested in following, this is random. If you're interested on wanting to follow me on Substack, you can find that linked in the show notes below or in the YouTube description. But I think I posted something like, we're all being trained by something, um, or we're all being trained, some intentionally and some not intentionally, whether it be by circumstances or ideologies that we're just not paying attention to, or someone who's actually being intentionally trained. Yeah, but I think it's important to recognize that we want to be people who train ourselves intentionally and not just to be um, unintentionally without knowing, trained by different ideas or way of thinking because we're being complacent and lazy. And I'm reminding myself also that each and every day is a training session where we get to draw nearer to the Lord, but also to be made more into His likeness. And I think that's amazing. So instead of seeing the hard as, oh man, like, oh, this again, it's like it's a training session. It's another training session for us to look more like Jesus. And what a great opportunity that we get to to be a part of that. Um, yeah, and like this last point that I had um in applying living generationally to my life and just wanting to cultivate this multi-generational perspective within my life as in my daily life and actions is breaking free from bondage and poor cycles. um Depending on your family background and where you come from, it's important that or even your own personal struggles, it's important that we break free from the bondage of these sins or these cycles that are holding us captive and leaving us stuck. If we want to have a legacy mindset and we want better for our children and in the next generation in our communities, we must be people who actually choose to take the step to break the bondage of poor habits or um, sin cycles or things that are holding us back from the life that the Lord is wanting us to step into. Um, that's something I've been pondering on because it's like, Lord, if I want um, a close knit family, if I want a beautiful marriage, that takes honesty, that takes consistency, that takes selflessness, that takes um, so many different things. And it's like, but if I'm living in bondage or held captive by something, it creates restriction and friction that makes those relationships hard to press into if I'm unwilling to actually break free from what's holding me back in the cycles. And just the idea of living generationally and cultivating purpose, gratitude, and accountability is like, how can I do that if I'm actually taking the steps to actually um, break free and cut off those poor cycles and throw them away and put them in the trash where they belong. Yeah. But I hope you enjoyed today's podcast episode. And until next time, live with legacy leading to the future. Goodbye, friends.